everyone. My name is Lisa Slack, and we're celebrating the official book release of Abandonment, The Plague of Most Men. I'm here with the author, Damon Jones, here in Long Beach, California. Thank you so much, Damon, for the opportunity to interview you about your powerful book.
No problem. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be in this beautiful city of Long Beach on this beautiful day.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and dive right into the questions.
Okay.
The title of your book immediately evokes a strong emotional response. What prompted you to come out with your story?
Well, I felt an urging to write my story because there's a lot of boys and men that are out there that need to hear the truth about father issues. You know, it's no disrespect on somebody that may have had a father in the house, because a lot of times we can have people that are present but they're absent. And that's no disrespect because a lot of times they might have never been taught themselves how to be present for them, you know, even for themselves or even for their family. So the title, Abandonment, the Plague of Most Men, it is a plague that affects pretty much not only men, but pretty much, you know, everyone. But my focus is mainly men and boys. So that's pretty much how I came up with the title, so that I could make sure it resonated with more than just one group of people.
Right, absolutely. Well, you get right into it in your introduction. Do you believe having an absentee father was one of the main ingredients that seasoned your anger?
You know what, I believe that was the main source of my anger, and I never really realized that because until I came to Christ and I realized and He revealed to me that the source of my anger was my lack of understanding. I became this person that was bullied, became the bully, this guy you see on the picture right here, because of the anger that I had within me. The absenteeism of my father, that really affected me in so many ways that I never really knew how deeply it went. I wish he had been there, but how could he have been there for me if nobody had ever taught him how to be there for him and his, you know, basically himself and his family. So.
Yes. Well, did you ever go on a search for your father?
I did. I actually did. I tried to contact him a couple of times, but he just didn't want to get on the phone and speak with me. So at that time, you know, with me operating out of my brokenness was basically with my low self-esteem, always seeking the attention of others, not really having a kingdom man around me, not just a male with the body parts, you know, and that's no disrespect on any guy out there. But the thing is, we have to have a great example of what a kingdom man should be, and that's a kingdom man is a man that's following the principles of what Christ has placed within him. But if you don't know the true word of what God intended for us, you know, we don't know which road we're supposed to take, but that road that the world has dictated to us. So it really hurt when I tried to find him, but at the same time, when I look back, I have nothing but sorrow and forgiveness for my father now. But then I had nothing but anger and rage.
Wow, unbelievable. At a young age, you accepted bullying and teasing as a reality you would have to accept for the rest of your life. Why did you give in to it as opposed to fighting through it?
I wanted to be accepted. I think I know for a fact it was my low self-esteem. The fact that I felt that I didn't have anybody to turn to. I mean, I have my family, but I just didn't know how to open up to my mother, my brothers, my sisters, and so forth. But I accepted it because I thought that was the easier way to be, you know, one of the crew or one of the group or the crowd and so forth. But I realized that basically pushed me more outside of the so-called circle, because they themselves, in most cases, had low self-esteem, and when they were pointing the finger at me, they never wanted to point it back at them because they're like, you know what? And a lot of them knew that they were wrong, but at the same time, they didn't have the courage to point the finger anywhere else but at me because I was that quiet and shy kid, you know, which ended up ultimately being the bullied kid.
Wow, that's amazing. There's so many things that we would do just for acceptance, just to be accepted. Wow. Chapter 3's title is Risking All for the Attention. Give us a little teaser about your choice to take such an enormous risk.
Well, without giving out too much, for those that haven't purchased the book, that was a few instances that I shared in my book. Any other thing I would have shared probably would not have a expiration date on the things that were done. I'll leave it like that. But I risked all for attention because that's exactly what it was. I was trying to get attention in any kind of way that I could, regardless of the consequences. I won't tell you specifics, but for those that have read the book, you already know what I'm sharing, that I did things that were on the edge, that I shouldn't even be standing here. I should be dead or in a prison. Or like the gentleman that I grew up with, I mean, basically he's doing life for murder. I'm not glorifying that, but God allowed me to see that if I'd have kept down that road, I would be exactly where he was, or my mother would have had to bury me.
Yes. Most kids stumble upon one thing that stimulates sexual curiosity. Without giving too much away, how did your first discovery evolve into unhealthy behavior?
Well, I can say that it started, my unhealthy sexual view began at the age of 5. Seeing a bag of pornography that my grandfather had in the closet. And I know a lot of people can relate to this, but I know I can speak about my story. As I went forward, that shaped my mindset in a way where I began to look at women as objects as I got older, because the people I hung around, most of the guys, that's, you know, and I take full responsibility, but majority of people I hung around with, that's the view that they had as well. So I thought that on another level, that would allow me to be even more accepted by the people around me, because there's a pattern to that. The low self-esteem, the brokenness that I never even realized I had. But the sexual unhealthiness of that, it led me into down the road of sexual lust, sexual addiction, whatever you want to call it. But I share it openly because I want to be able to help as many boys and men that might be on that path or that road that may not know how to reach out and get the proper help, because there's nothing wrong with you in that regard. Don't let the enemy get in your head and make you believe that nothing can be done. Don't let him isolate you, because that's what happens. And that's another reason why I wanted to share my story, to help other boys and men, help them realize that you're not alone. You're definitely not alone.
One of your subtitles in chapter 5 is, "It was all a big lie." What are you referring to?
The big lie. The big lie is referring to boys don't cry, man up, women are emotional, boys aren't. But that's a big lie. We all come out crying. We all come out of the womb crying. I never understood that. But until I had the courage to open up and read the Word of God for myself and build a relationship, that began to open my eyes to a lot of the things around me that I had been lied to all my life. So in regards to being told not to cry, there's those times where I felt like I wanted to cry. I had to push it down inside. And I'm like, you know, this doesn't feel natural. You know, us making excuses about, you know, why we can't cry. Why not? You know, so I began to, you know, share myself. You know, I won't tell too much about the book, but some people that have read it. But the thing about it, that really burned my soul. And I want to share with as many men and boys as possible that there's a reason why a lot of times you don't see a lot of elderly men with their spouses, because a lot of times we feel like we can hold it all. We don't need nobody, you know, but we need the people around us, the people that love us. And the only way we can do that is to become that emotional being that we've been created to be, you know, instead of what the world has molded us into be. I'm finally at that point where I don't care what people think about me, and I want to encourage other boys and men to do the same.
Well, you know, we all have been given emotions to express ourselves. So I think not only women, but men as well should be expressing themselves as well.
Right.
You say no other woman could have brought out the things hidden deep within you. Tell us about this special lady named Deborah.
Wow. I don't think we have enough time on this video for I to tell about the woman that God created just for me. But I'll say a few words about, without my wife, I wouldn't be the man that I am through Christ. I made it on my grandmother's prayers, my mother's prayers. But when God brought me my wife, who He created for me, she's the one that truly told me about myself in a respectful but just direct way, excuse me, that really pierced my soul. But I was this stubborn guy right here. But she didn't see this guy. She saw that little child that was crying from deep within, that was just masquerading as a man, you know? But that was all I knew. But with her, oh my goodness, the love of my life, when I met her, it was through her sister, and no disrespect, you know, her sister's like the opposite of her, you know, nothing but love for you, Keisha. You know, I know you're gonna be watching this, but when I met her, I was sitting there drinking my gin with a couple other folk, and she walks in the room, and it was like I became the person you see right here, which means instead of me saying, hello, I mean, hey, what's happening, girl? What you working with? You know, I saw her, it was like, hello. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I ain't supposed to say hello? That's gonna make me look bad. But for her, she said hello, and she didn't think nothing else about it. But fast forward years later, when we get married, God revealed the fact that you felt that way because that was your true love. Because the women that you had been with, the womanizing and all that other stuff, those women weren't for you. That was the lust that you were acting upon. And when you saw true love, you didn't know how to experience it or feel it or even exist in the same room. Because when she entered the room, she didn't even know this, that I wanted to leave. I stopped drinking my gin. I stopped, you know, I pulled up my pants, you know, I wanted to leave. So years later is when I finally shared that with her, and I shared that in the book as well. But it's like, without my wife, I would definitely not be the man that I am through Christ, because she was grounded in Christ before we met. Because God knew that I would have to have somebody that He created for me to be grounded in Him to deal with this stubborn, egotistical, prideful, boastful, the list goes on. I mean, I humbly say that, and I say that openly because I want to encourage other men and boys to be able to open up and share, because that's where the strength is. But without my wife, I said it, this is probably the third or fourth time, I wouldn't be the man that I am through Christ, you know. And I can't imagine living in this life or this world without my wife.
Sounds like this Deborah is a very nice, wise woman of God.
She most definitely is.
What do you say to men who are looking to find a good woman and get married?
Well, I can say the first thing that I learned from when I was looking, I didn't find. When I was out there looking, I didn't find. And then when I stopped looking, my wife was already right here. In other words, God has a sense of humor in a way where woman comes out of the side of man. So when I looked, finally said, you know what, I'm not looking anymore. She was already right here. I'm looking all around and around and about. But then come to find out, she was standing right here. Woman comes out of the side of man. So when God says a woman is our helpmate, my wife, she's helped me meet the expectations of what God has always intended me to be. And that's to be that person that's not afraid to stand up and be courageous. The bullying, I believe a lot of things are allowed in our life to bring us to where God needs us to be so that we can be an encouragement and to help others in that regard. So I see that the anger in that regard, it's coupled with the bullying, because now I can burn with that righteous anger for what's right. Because that's something it's just deep within me, that I love helping people now. I love encouraging. So it's just a beautiful thing.
You have a very strong and committed relationship with God. Would you say that everything you do hinges upon that? And how?
That's a most definite yes. Everything that I do now is founded upon my trust and belief in Jesus Christ. Period. I used to be ashamed of letting people know that I am a Christian. I used to be ashamed when I used to go to church a lot of times, mainly because I didn't understand what it meant to be a true follower of Jesus Christ, because a lot of people out there, I got to put it plain, faking and shaking. That's what I saw before I accepted Christ. And the thing about it is, they were like the religious folk, the hypocrites, and the enemy, the devil, knew that I was looking at that, but I didn't realize that it was about my own personal relationship with God. But when I got a taste of God for myself, again, through my wife, I was like, whoa, it's not about them, it's about my relationship with you. I said, oh, now I get it, but it's been a process. My wife and I were married 20 years ago. 18 of those 20 years, I was a little boy inside, still this guy here inside, because I was still living out of my brokenness. Never be perfect, I get it, but I'm so much further along than I was, that there's a peace that every day I wake, I know I still have a purpose because I'm still breathing. I'm not making excuses anymore, because I used to always assume that I would wake up tomorrow. I had to stop assuming that. But now I have victory in knowing that even if I don't wake up tomorrow, I know I'm gonna be absent from the body and I'm gonna be present with the Lord in eternity. But until He wants me to go somewhere, I'm not going anywhere. And I know that now. I stand with that expectance of knowing that within my soul and spirit each day, saying, you know what, Lord, what would you have me do today? Yes, I go through challenges each and every day, but the thing about it is, it's all about how I rise to those challenges, because I know God is with me. You know what I mean? He is with me. He said, you would never leave me nor forsake me. So I stand on that each and every day. Hebrews 13:6, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? And that's a confidence, not an arrogance. I stand on that because I know it's true. So my thing is to encourage any and everybody. And I'm going to continue to say that because that's what this is all about. I didn't plan on writing a book, but God had other plans. So I'm just thankful.
Wow. Seemed like the joy of the Lord has definitely been your strength.
Ooh, I'm getting chills right now.
Wow. You speak about your past mistrust of the church. What brought you around to being able to finally trust it?
Well, it's kind of like the previous question, but the thing about it is, I was looking at people. I didn't realize it was a relationship, a personal relationship. I had to stop looking at people in order to see God. And my mistrust of the church was my misinformation, because I didn't have scripture to open up for myself. I was always going by just what I saw, and I didn't have any basis for that. But now, because of my relationship and being able to study the scriptures for myself and let them just sink in and fall on that soil that, that allows it to come out in a way where it's more receptive, because of me going through what I went through, I'm able to deliver the message to people that were in a position like me, that used to look at people that were like, because I didn't want to go to church at all. I was like, you know what, if that's what church is about, I don't want to have anything to do with it. But the thing is, now I realize that we are the church. It's not the four walls. So those people that are out there faking and shaking or trying to make people believe that they're one thing, it's not judgment, it's an observation. But at the same time, God knows the truth. He knows those that are who are His. He said, my sheep that are called, my sheep will hear my voice. Don't have me misquoting scripture here. But I have the peace now that when I look back, it's something that if I hadn't have changed my direction or humbled my heart or came to the end of myself, when I came to the end of myself, that's when the true transformation began. And I started seeing that it's not about the four walls, it's not about the people, it's about my relationship with God. So my trust for the church, which is us, it's totally changed because I'm trusting Him.
Well, I have read your book and I totally see a full transformation.
Definitely humbled.
Who's your specific reading audience and what do you want them to learn from reading this book?
My specific reading audience, as I've mentioned, is going to be boys, men all the way up until the grave, you know, mainly because a lot of us men never make the choice to change. Let's just keep it plain. If I hadn't made the choice to want to change, I wouldn't be going through this transformation that God has allowed me to go through. I had to make the choice to accept Him into my heart in that area and all these different areas in my life, to say that I don't have it together. I thought I did. I used to try to control everything. Even though I thought I was in control, I was never in control. But the main thing I want people to get from this book, especially boys and men, my wife, again, has been very instrumental in enlightening me to transparency, vulnerability, and intimacy. Transparency, basically those three things are the things that were part of the big lie as well, about us not opening up and being totally transparent, totally open and honest about everything. And when I say everything, I'm finally open and honest about everything. And there's a freedom in that. Vulnerability, I'm very open. I let my wife see all of my emotions. I don't care what that is, especially the emotional aspect of crying. We're watching a movie or even watching a cartoon or whatever it is. If I feel that emotion, I got some tears dropping without worrying about what people think about me. You know, and I found out that when I was worried about what people thought about me, in most cases they wasn't thinking about me. They were thinking about the things that they were going through. You know, the world was revolving around me, so I thought, but that was the enemy in my head trying to keep me distracted, because there is an attack, especially on the men and the boys, to keep us from becoming the men that God has always intended us to be. But when we don't surround ourselves with other kingdom men, or just men that are trying to do the right thing, going in the right direction, we isolate. It's an automatic thing. If we don't watch ourselves, we end up alone, and then that's where all the attacks begin to happen. So those are the main things that I want anyone, boys and men, to get out of my book. I just want to be an encouragement. Let you know that you're not alone. Stay encouraged. Keep taking one step at a time. Each step forward, you're moving forward. Just times when even when you don't feel like you're moving, at least you're still standing. And if you don't feel like you're moving anywhere, find some men. I know that's a simple thing to say, but not easy. I was the guy that used to isolate all the time. That's how I ended up, you know, in the sexual addiction and all these other things that I shouldn't have been doing. But find other men that you can relate to, that can encourage you, that you can open up to. That's a simple thing, but not easy. But a lot of us, we have people around us, but a lot of times we don't want to open up. It's not a weakness, it's actually a strength. So be encouraged.
Where can everyone get a copy of your book?
Well, it's available on Amazon. You can actually go to my website, which is abandonment2020.net. It's available in a paperback version or Kindle. So make sure you get a copy today for yourself or for someone else that can be encouraged by my story.
Well, Damon, thank you very much for the opportunity of interviewing you. Really appreciate it. Okay, everyone, the book again is Abandonment, the Plague of Most Men. Don't forget, be sure to watch the amazing book trailer at abandonment2020.net. Again, that's abandonment2020.net. Thank you.
Thank you.